Hello, this is Dr. Carmen Smith, spiritual teacher and author of the book, The I Am Solution. With me today, I have Lauren Smith, and he is the spirit that came through me. I don't want to say my son because that kind of connotes ownership and maybe even control, but coming from a spiritual perspective, this is a spirit that came through the universe and possibly selected me as their parent. And I'm very honored that that happened. I'd like to give you an overview of how I've come to the realization of this spirit and how to parent a spirit that comes through you without being controlling, without being critical, and without projecting your expectations onto that spirit. And what happened when he was younger is that his dad and I went through a divorce. And what that did was that separated my infant from me for long periods of time. And so because of that, I had to look within myself for whatever was lacking, whatever I was expecting Lauren to fill within me. And usually with parents, we're looking to have somebody love us unconditionally. We're looking for something else outside of ourselves to fulfill us. So with that early traumatic experience, it was traumatic for me, I was able to go within and look within myself. And this is a process. It did not happen overnight, and he is in his 20s, and I'm still going through this process of knowing who I am. And when I fully am aware of my identity, I can fully appreciate his and his journey. And his journey includes independence. Not a controlling parent who has expectations that he must fill. That's a lot of pressure, and that's not why he came to the planet. That's just me wanting to fill some empty space within me. So that's kind of how I view parenting, and I wanted to ask Lauren, have you experienced that, and how has this type of parenting shown up in your life? How have you experienced this?
I believe there's been a lot of different controlling situations. Definitely having your freedom is the best. Being controlling, it's not being controlled or controlled, being used. A lot of times in divorces, people use the son to try and get back at the other spouse or whatever. But I think definitely having your freedom, not being controlled, is probably the best scenario. But I've had some controlling situations. And it's great with mom. She's really come a long way in her spiritual journey, and as both as a spiritual partner and as a parent, to come above the norm, as they say, come higher. So it's definitely been an evolution. Me being like she said, in my 20s, it's definitely seen the extreme growth of Dr. Carmen Smith, my mom, coming a lot higher in both aspects. So I think when you come higher spiritually, you also come higher as a parent. So definitely seen improvements in both there. So I think it's been wonderful, just having that freedom to go around, do your life, and you can still intertwine, do your things, but it's not from this perspective of a general overlooking his privates. So it's a lot better.
Wonderful. And also it allows me to love you unconditionally, meaning that it's not based on behavior, my expectations of what I think you should do, or you should go to college or whatever. At one point I told you, I said, if you don't want to go to college, or if you feel like you're trying to meet someone's expectations of you and it's not gelling, then you forge your own path, and it may look totally different than maybe what your parents had in mind, and that's okay. So maybe allowing you and expressing that to you and giving you that information, was that helpful?
I would say definitely. I would say the biggest example is I went to college in Illinois, and when I came back, I went to UNLV. But when I came back, it was more almost trying to fulfill both my mom and my dad's expectations of needing to go to college, and then my heart really wasn't in it. So courses you're not going to do as good, and then you had to live your life, go through certain experiences, and then when you really want to go back, and it's your decision, not trying to fulfill expectations or someone else's goals or something, then you can a lot more successfully going back or trying to achieve something. But it takes more or less me making that decision through experiences and other things, trial and error, which is just life, instead of someone else's expectations of you. Because there's a lot of people out there who say you got to go to college, and maybe that's not really their plan. And of course, you're maybe not going to do as well, or life is not going to be as happy when you're not doing it for you. I have a friend who basically works whatever his dad tells him to do. He does whatever, trying to please his dad. It's nothing remotely what he'd want to do, and he's not really happy. So having that freedom makes you happier.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things you touched on, which I think is very important, is that you're my spiritual partner. And the best relationship that you can have with your children, with your spouse, or with anybody that's prominent in your life is having them as a spiritual partner. And what that means is that we have one singular goal, and that is to be more of who we are, more of the divine, more of the one that is in everything. More of God. And so when you have a spiritual partner, you can talk to them about some of the things that you're going through and some of the practices, that we have at our job, some of the things that we need to get through, but through a spiritual lens. We need to see our life through a higher, like Lauren was saying, a higher perspective. And having your son as your spiritual partner, I would recommend that it is the best relationship that you can have. Would you say we have open communication?
I would say so.
And non-judgment.
And which is awesome.
Which is awesome. And so coming up higher as a parent, as an individual, you have a singular goal, and that is to be more of who you are, your authentic self. And only when you achieve that can you help others with that same goal. And so thank you to my spiritual partner for talking to me today. And let's do this again, because we have many more topics to cover. But spiritual partners are between equals. We have one singular goal, and that is to be the one. Love you.
Love you too, Mom.